specific choices she makes and what impact they have on us. Do we think that her decisions are the ones that we would make if we were the author or not? All right? So you're going to be getting this handout, and we're going to do the first one together. We're going to think about the narrative style of two of the sisters who speak directly to us in first person. So raise your hand if you know what first person narration means, based on what we learned during our narrative writing unit. What does it mean to write in first person? All right. Natalie, what does it mean to write in first person?
It's from your perspective.
Rosa, Natalie. Go ahead, Natalie. Exactly, what you feel directly to the reader. So, Natalie, you would say, exactly. Us to know what these women are going through from their own perspective. So, kind of a summary of what Kadeem shared. So, once we have figured out a style element, which is this first-person narration, and what the author wants us to know, like why the author would do this, we're going to think about whether we think it was successful. We're evaluating the effect it had on us as a reader. All right? So this final column, my opinion, is that the reader empathizes with the character telling the story and sees events from his point of view or her point of view. All right? So I think that it is effective the way the author tells it from their perspective. So you're writing these two things down as an example of how we're going to fill out this chart. We're going to do the next few in pairs. So the second one on your chart is the same question as we talked about for our do now, which is that Maria Theresa writes in a diary. All right, that's one decision the author made. She could have told us about Maria Theresa's life through the perspective of her mother, or she could have told it from the perspective of a guard in prison, or she could have just told us about Minerva without doing it from a character's perspective. Why would she have us learn about Maria Theresa from her diary? All right, so I'm going to scoot back over here. So the diary style of Maria Theresa you have on your chart, we're filling out the next two columns. So first, let's just look at how the elements intended to create meaning. What do we think the author wanted to do? All right? So together in the last class, we came up with the fact that we thought the author wanted us to understand her experience inside prison, so we felt sympathetic towards her. We hear kind of each event that happens in detail, from her meeting that woman who's really different from her, to her kind of challenging Minerva. She wants to be pardoned and let out of prison. Minerva says, no, we have to be leaders, we have to continue with the struggle inside prison. All right? So for the third column, I want you to talk to a partner about whether you think it was effective. If this was the author's goal, they want us to understand and feel sympathetic towards Maria Theresa's experience, how successful is the author in doing this? All right, so talk to your partner and fill out that last column for this row about Maria Theresa's diary. Okay, you have 1 minute. So you're just completing the line about the diary. In the middle, you have the explanation. The author wants us to understand her experience from her point of view. All right, so John, ask me a question. Yeah, so right here we have a summary of why.
She came in trying to be strong like Minerva. The author kind of conveys this. The author kind of conveys this message of how Maria Theresa isn't as strong as Minerva. So she breaks down in prison, and she's not like probably not like as much pride as Minerva.
Alright, so to
So
clarify,
she doesn't.
we have the
Kind of
first
weak.
two rows filled
She
out
has to
here.
part. She has to get out.
You're filling out this part right now. Okay, this part. How well does
How do you
this
feel
create
about
meaning
it?
for the reader?
I think it
How well
shows
do you
how,
think the author does
like, she's only
in
saying
helping
part of
us
the
feel
story,
sympathetic to the
like
reader?
what she wants to remember,
Alright?
compared to what the other theses are saying. And it shows, she wants to remember. She's not saying the whole story.
Yeah. I think it's the lack of pride, that's not, she can't say the whole story, but that's, what if it was Minerva, she could do it. Yeah. Why didn't you try
How are we doing over here?
So what do you think? Why?
Yeah, do that.
So if the author wants us to understand her experience in prison, do you think that she was successful in doing that? Like, do you feel like you got to know what Maria Teresa is going through or not?
Yeah, that was.
To a certain limit? And so what, talk to me a little bit more about the limit.
Because she didn't exactly speak on what happened. Like, she kind of hid it. She gave like an idea of something really bad happened, but she didn't really exactly say what happened.
Because why didn't she really exactly say it?
I guess the pages were turned out. Like, she told her sister Pasha, and Pasha wanted her to speak back, but she didn't.
Good, yeah. So I think that's an important thing to say. So it created meaning in a certain way, to a certain extent. You felt like you knew what was happening in terms of how she felt. But then in certain key events, pages were torn out, and maybe it was hard to tell as the reader, right? So it's maybe that created less meaning. So you're evaluating to what degree you think it was helpful.
Yeah, sorry.
She has flashbacks from this one's like pathetic.
And so you kind of see,
She has all the stuff.
it's like this facade that she's like in the room and she's like full of pride. And we see that when she's we see her true person. Like, yeah, that's it.
She just wants us to get her to know her like, in a different view. She's telling the story so it's different. Like more detailed.
It's just a videotape a lesson so we can reflect on it later.
So we're going to move on to the next two. Before we move on, I want two people to share what you wrote for the author's, how well the author does this. What is the effect on you of the author making the decision to have diary entries? All right? So Andy and Will, I need to be quiet. What is the effect? Do we appreciate it as the reader? Julie Alvarez, is she successful in getting us to sympathize with Maria Teresa by writing in this style? What do you think, Shira? So it seems like classified information, so it seems like we're getting invited into this secret. Yeah, absolutely, good. That is, it's a very thoughtful way to analyze why it would be a diary. Like, why would the author put it into a diary? It feels secret, right? You're not supposed to be able to read someone's diary. Very good. All right. So it feels more interesting and exciting. Lamar, you can copy down up here. Good. So the next two I want us to think about, and if you have another style that you noticed, you can add that. I want us to at least add these two to our list. Are these two, all right? So there are flashbacks from Dee Dee. So copy that down onto the left of your chart. She talks about her life in the past. There are whole chapters where we see her with this gringa interviewing her. And she's talking about what's happened in the past, and we see flashbacks. And we learn that the sisters die right at the beginning.